So welcome to another exploration into consciousness with the Earth Navohab. And it's good to be back and to see every one of you and to have a conversation about the new normal. Because we are pretty much, I think, between the old and the new normal. And it seems a little bit like, from a personal perspective, seems a little bit like taking charge of the avatar that I consider myself, we all consider ourselves in this, boots on the ground, and at the same time being in the flow. And what if that is the new normal now? To be both the observer and the observed at the same time, and just switch from one side to the other until it becomes so normal and so comfortable, or so, what's another word for normal? So practical, I don't know, you know, to
Regular, expected.
regular, yeah,
Ordinary.
ease, ordinary, to continue on that path of the new normal. So what is the new normal for you guys? How are you perceiving the current changes? And I think we can all say, there's no ways that we can deny what is happening. It's happening mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even if it is just us watching other people, working with other people, seeing what's happening at the moment. So what is the new normal for you guys?
It's like in Vietnam, they have one motto, which is called same, but different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very, very much what we're going through. Same, but different.
I had some time with Melanie on Zoom the other day, and she gave me a Vedic astrology reading because she said, "Oh, my birthday, my birthday was last week." And she said, "Oh, I want to give you a reading for your birthday." So she looked at my Vedic chart, but also my destiny chart that's activating, that happens um with the Saturn cycle. And one of the interesting things that's going on is I've got all of these planets, including the North Node in Aquarius in the house of home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like this shift that's happening for me, where since 2011 I've been doing my own business, doing healing work, left tech before that, and so that became my new normal. But now I'm transitioning into this place of almost like this home and family and energetic community building that is allowing, I don't know, just a relaxation in a way where I feel like I don't have to push. I can just be. I can, just I can observe, I can engage. It sort of just doesn't matter because I'm holding my own energy. And I don't, give a crap about what anyone what anyone thinks or how I'm perceived, right? I think that worrying is sort of long gone for me. And I feel like there's a whole new wave of people coming in to experience the energy healing work who are just on the precipice of opening up into their new normal. So I think that's really, really kind of exciting. It's sort of almost like if you're on, looking at perspective of life from this side of the ball, all of a sudden the ball is over here and you're looking at it from the other side. And it's been an interesting perspective that I'm just starting to open up into and ground into in a deeper way.
I'm hearing this community,
Mhm.
community feeling. And my North Node, I think, is in Aries, which is all about new beginnings, right? Which would explain my new project at the moment, because it's in the 10th house, which is all about, career, or whatever else you want to call that 10th house. It's all about that. So that would make a lot of sense. And at the same time, there is, as I'm walking through that shopping center, there is this community sense that I'm already getting just by having met a few of the security guards and the maintenance people, and whoever walks around there, the cleaning lady, and just saying hello, and they all acknowledge you because you're the new kid on the block, and things like that. So there is that kind of community that I am seemingly starting to build, in that center. And I think I said that before to you. It's like when I started painting, I had written down on a little cloth, I said to them, to the paintings, you have to market yourself. You got to show me where do you want to go, to create magic, to create abundance, to create ease and joy. And I mean, not even a year later, they've inspired, obviously, that project that I'm working on, having my own gallery in that shopping center, right? And I went in cold, not knowing anything about what it's going to be, and I still don't know. But that community is already coming through the first couple of days, as I haven't even opened yet. And then you mentioned it, Tanya, and then there's another friend of mine. She's going into a community sort of feel that happened for her like that, which is completely a different kind of community. It's like off-grid living. She's like growing vegetables and building her own little shed now, and eating squirrels and all sorts of things. So that's, it's like, oh my God, yes, that's community as well. Do you feel that community coming through, whatever you're working with?
I think that going off of what Tanya was talking about, because I've had a lot of that as well, where, I mean, in my words, I would say that, like, I'm coming to a completely different level of comfort of just being me and doing the things that I want to do, and like that pressure of perfection and trying to juggle all the things that you need to do for everybody else and keeping up with a busy schedule. Like, none of that really phases me anymore. I still have a full day and a full life, but I flow from task to task. And if I need space for something, I don't have an issue with creating it. Like, I don't even really have to ask for it. I just kind of create it almost unconsciously. And so the flow of my life has completely changed. It's been in the process of that for a while, but in the last couple of months, it's made a very big difference. And I would have said that I'm more and more secure in my sovereignty to where nothing really shakes me out of that anymore. And community's been on my lips for a while also. Where I see community evolving around me is more and more people that are coming to that higher level of sovereignty are more comfortable in themselves, and so they're more comfortable communing with other people that are resonating with that vibe as well. Because the people that are bringing community to me are using my words. It's not people that I need to show the way. There are those people also, and they come to me as clients, or they just start asking questions. But the people that are orbiting with me, not around me, but with me right now, are just like us and able to have a conversation just like this. And it's so nice to have that. Even people from what I would call my 3D world are starting to use my words and being more comfortable in my energy and asking about the things that I do outside of my 3D job. And I can feel them shifting and becoming more with me. And I really love that.
Amazing.
I second that, or I triple that. From so I have currently been taken out of a community, right? Because I'm in a completely different setting. I had no issue at all leaving the other community behind, because I knew that they can. Whereas, if I would compare that to what I did, years before, I'm like, okay, interesting that I could cut off this so rapidly, so easily and without entanglement. I know it's still, I miss them, sure, but okay, that's that. And creating, we have here the Wednesday community, and then I have that also on Sunday community with the philosophy group. But within that philosophy group, we have created another other community of where we call the community of practice, where we also experiment and we do gazing sessions and meditations, and we talk about what the whole experimental side of that philosophy is. And just yesterday we had a gazing session, and I have to say it's just beautiful with these people. I don't even have to talk. It's like, there is a connection that has been established on a really different level, and that's just beautiful. But like Martina said now about the security guys, saying hello, I have been going to several times now to a restaurant from the Whole Food store. They have also a restaurant there, and the people there, they already recognize me and I recognize them, and it's a different level of conversation that is happening, which is I like going there now for lunch, because it's just pleasant, although we don't really talk. It's just hello and how are you, and that's about it. But there is a sense of community coming up, right? Because also in a Whole Food store, people there are already approaching you in a different way, right? Because they are already, also looking for a community. So, yeah, it's definitely going towards yeah. I don't want to use, Tim Freak's words on the individual, but this individual as being in a universal individual, coming into union and then together. So that's community, right?
Yeah.
Well, it seems too like along that line, it is transcending the duality, right? The polarization and duality of things, and meeting people where there is a point of unity, right? Not getting caught up in the dualistic thinking of us versus them,
Polarity.
or the polarity anymore, but shifting into that place of just openness and communion, and seeing people for who they are, regardless of what is polarizing them. Yeah, it's been interesting to see that flow happening.
I've been definitely reminded over the last couple of days and weeks to acknowledge that the so-called awakening does not look anything like we probably have thought it should be looking at. And it's literally going the other way for me. It's literally going into completely normality. Like we talk about normal, almost the old normality where, again, where you see it as observer, but then because you're observing it with different eyes, it is actually taking out that polarity, like you guys are saying. It's like you can listen to someone having a conflict, like I've had when I was in Austria, for instance, and it does not touch you whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's no longer, there is no need, I'll speak for myself, obviously, there is absolutely no need to get involved. There's absolutely no need to even say anything or make a suggestion about anything. It's, I've always been an out creator of my, I don't know how many lifetimes I've already had in this incarnation. And once I let go of it, it's almost like disappears completely, But then
Mhm.
we are integrating it and you just become it. And that is for me also talking about the old normal and the new normal is really acknowledging. And I think, we mustn't beat ourselves up thinking, oh, everything I've learned, everything I've done, everything I felt passionate about is now totally gone. And what am I doing wrong here? It's not gone. It's transformed because it's transformed you, and it has opened up those dormant DNA rungs, strings, yeah, strands. And all of a sudden, so much more is coming in. And it disconcerting. Yeah, it has to, I think everything has to slow down a little bit for that to happen. You find that slowing down, and I think we're all a bit like movers and shakers and like, okay, let's go, create. And I'm like, I was thinking the other day, it's like there is a remembering in the creation, there's a creation in the remembering. So it's a remembering, really. There's no difference between remembering anymore and creating.
I was thinking when you were talking about how the awakening looks different than we thought it would, and it brought me back to you talking about like build it and it will come, right? Build it and they will come. Because when we begin to manifest something new or what's next or what it is that we're creating and building, we put expectation into it, but then we just go through the steps and we get it done. And then when we look back on it, it's not what we initially envisioned. Most often it's quite a bit better, right? But it's different than what we thought it was going to be because we put that expectation down. And the awakening as a collective is a little bit different than what I was expecting, but also a lot of the same of what I was expecting. But I'm so far separated from it that it never touches me. It doesn't even come into my field unless I see something passing and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what they were talking about. Oh, yeah, I see that. But I don't engage in it at all. It never comes anywhere near me from an emotional or energetic perspective. And so I think some of that slowdown, too, that you feel is more of it's not our ability to control time, but we've kind of clocked out of time. And so we slow it down when we want to stop and look at it, and we speed it up when we want to move on to something else. That's how it feels for me.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a really good reminder or teaching, right? For those who feel like their back's pressed up against the wall, that they don't have as much time, to do all the things that need doing, to be in all the places that they need to be, right? And really like carving out that space for yourself, for the self-healing and self-nurturing and like self-awareness. Like we've all been doing this journey for a long time, but I see, just think of someone I was working with yesterday who is just very stretched thin with an, relatively new relationship and very busy job and a new, living space. And I mean, it's just like all of these things that this person has wanted and asked for, then all of a sudden now they don't feel like they have any time to enjoy it. So we were just having a conversation about making time expandable and contractible. And you can like blow it up and slow it down, just like you were talking about, Jen. And that allows for more spaciousness and more breath and just like more padding around, our own self-nurturing and self-care. Like, what are those things that need to happen for you to be able to go about your life every day? Right? We were talking last week about, daily practice, those self-care rituals, the little things that we do to shine us up and get us ready for the day, ready for action, ready for whatever it is that we need to do. And sometimes it's just a realization of like you were talking about, Sandrine, just taking a step back and slowing down and recognizing when we've done too much. Now it's time to just step back and breathe for a second.
On the time, I'm reminded of, and because I put that really in the back of my head, I saw once a documentary of a British children's book illustrator, and she was 94. She was still doing illustrations, 94. And I'm like, she's 94. I'm now, okay, at that moment I was, what, 45, 46, I don't know. Now I'm 50, and I'm like, 94, that means I still have 40 years. 40 years to do a gazillion things, right? I mean, okay, she has been doing that her whole life, and I admire those people that can just sit down and do one thing their whole life, But I'm like, whatever, I still have so much time to learn whatever I want to learn, to get my hands dirty in whatever I want to get my hands dirty, and just explore, right? I mean, that is the time that I have, and I'm using it and I'm doing it. Because 94, my goodness, 44 years still to go.
Right. And, add another 10 just for good measure,
Just for good measure, because, we're all going to age better.
Or 20, yes. And how does it get better than that? I think it's a redefinition of effort, of time to redefine effort. Because effort for me now is going with the flow, and the flow is not easy. It's not about ease. It's like very well illustrated with that unit that I'm renting. Is the day's just every day there's something else that needs to be done, but it's like, okay, well, who can I ask to assist me with that, right? And it's just like that. And then, today they were supposed to take the vinyl down, and then they came and they couldn't take the vinyl down because they didn't bring a tower with them. And I was like, okay, well, then you'll do it tomorrow, And there's no such thing. And then Emma said she was going to come and she couldn't get the right day off that we thought she was supposed to be coming. And now she's coming exactly on the right day, because the other day we couldn't have done what we want to do anyway. So, and that is the just not knocking against what is being thrown at you, because at the end of the day, it's not even the right expression. Nothing is thrown at you. You just it's just there. It's an expression of yourself in a way, and then it's awaiting you to, oh, so how do you deal with me now? It's like those bolted units on the ground. Initially I thought, okay, I'm gonna just box them up, right? And then as soon as I had the color on, I thought, absolutely no boxing up of those units. I can't. First of all, I don't want to spend more money on that. And then afterwards, I thought, what's the significance of that? Those were units I was trying to hide. And I'm thinking, oh. And as soon as the color was on and I had hung up that one picture, there was no doubt in my mind. I didn't even think, as they have to go. The units have to go. And afterwards I realized, oh, there's no hiding anymore. We're not hiding anything. If it's not supposed to be in your life, why would you box it up and keep it? 2 huge units full of cables and shit. And I'm like, yes. And now the space has opened up. And that was just another thing to use as a not synchronicity, as a metaphor to see, okay, what else have I just let go that I was trying to box up, because I love, I'm a recycler, I recycle things, I love that kind of thing. But if it's not creative enough, it doesn't feel right, then why would you do it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like that, that's been going on with people for me in my life for a long while. where it's like friend, longtime friends who just can't get together. Like we try to make a plan to have lunch or do whatever, and it always falls through, right? Either that person cancels or something comes up for me. And it's just like being able to acknowledge that maybe that person isn't energetically resonant with me right now, that our paths have gone like this, right? And maybe they'll come back someday and walk like this again, but not now, not now. Right. And so that energy, like not worrying about that and letting it go. Right. Instead of thinking, oh, why does that person always cancel? Like why it's just not resonant.
Yeah. Because it can feel odd, can't it? You know, it does feel odd. It feels like, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, because comfort, I've really found comfort now as well. It feels actually just different, you know, not normal. We're going back to the norm. It just doesn't feel normal, but you can feel it. You can feel it and think this is significant. You can feel it, but you're not angry. You're not sad. You're not anxious about it or worried about it, but you can still feel it. But it's different.
I used to, when I go through upgrades or when I'm leveling up, I kind of get isolated, and they used to really bother me, and I would feel really, really isolated and alone. And now I look forward to it. Like I see it exactly for what it is right away. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. And I enjoy like the cocooning of it. And they seem to not last as long either because I don't have any resistance to it anymore. But to what you were saying too, like I have had so much joy the last couple months in getting rid of stuff. The more space I open up in my physical world, whether it's in my painting studio or inside my house, it just makes me so happy. And like the stuff that I have that goes to other people, it makes them happy too, right? But just to have space and not holding on to anything that isn't part of me now makes everything around me feel better because it emanates who I am now instead of who I was. I mean, I'm great at preserving things. I had every first edition hard copy of Anne Rice's books, right, that I hadn't read since I was 14, and they were all perfectly preserved. And one day I looked at that shelf and I'm like, I want that shelf back. And I packed them all up and took them to the used bookstore. So can you imagine how many times I've moved those too? How many times I've packed those and moved those and I was never going to touch them again. So just giving them a new life somewhere else was really freeing for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love that. Love that.
I love moving. I love moving. I love moving because it's such an opportunity to let things go.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, I've, because I need furniture, right? I'm thinking, okay, where I'm gonna sit, and I found one chair at the car boot on Sunday, and I took that. It was bright yellow, and I thought, I love it. Oh shit, it would have actually fit with that painting. Anyway, oh, I didn't even think about that. Anyway, I painted it. I painted it and I splashed some color on it. And then I thought, I've got these chairs and kitchen table, tiny, tiny one. But oh, let me paint that too. So I just painted everything. And I've got nothing in the kitchen at the moment because I've just taken, that, whatever that was, into the studio, into the gallery. So it's like, oh, I like that, I really like that. I think, Jen, you were saying that I think there was a little recording you did where you're bringing work and your passion and your other sort of gifts together now, and one feeds into the other. And it might just be that chair that I've just painted and brought into the gallery that is now bringing it. It's creating a link somehow, Didn't even think about that before. So little bits and pieces, how we are actually connectors, bridges right? We are bridges. We are world bridges, bridging different worlds, but just putting a bit of color on something. Totally
Yeah.
out-created. Hmm.
Well, like like you were saying, right? You've entered this portal of the normal world. Like, who could ever say that you'd be in a big shopping center starting, selling your paintings in a gallery,
Yeah.
but in that like normal retail space? To me, as you were talking earlier, I was seeing almost like the image of a river, right? And this individual spiritual work is standing on side of the river, like outside of that current, but getting back into this sort of normal day-to-day world is like stepping into that river and getting taken by the current, by that flow of energy.
It does feel like that too, because when I was in the corporate world, I really enjoyed working in the corporate world because I was always interacting with all the different departments and bringing everything together and just it's almost like a stepping back into an energy that was so familiar for me. And whilst I'm doing something completely different, there is this energy coming through me again that I have not really, I've acknowledged it when we're talking obviously on a Zoom, but in a life, situation again. And that is fun. I really enjoy that, and I'm driving there and I'm, and all of that, it's really, it's interesting how something so, don't want to call it mundane, but, normal again, all of a sudden has taken on a different normality for me. And it's a very calm one. I don't know if you can perceive that energy, but I feel very calm about it. What do we have? Marissa, what are you saying? Tempted to multitask and listen, but I'll have to tune in recording. Okay. All right, Marissa. Yeah.
Yeah, that flow of multitasking, lots of little things getting done.
I'm
Yeah.
starting to find too that there's energy in moving some of those things around to different geographic points. You were talking about moving stuff from like your house to the gallery, and I don't exactly have words for it. I'm just starting to observe it. But even myself, like moving where I'm doing things around, uh, triangulates the energy in a different way. And I'm starting to watch that, like it anchors it and then it turns. I mean, even like last week we did Kujian class at a different location. This coming Saturday we're going to do it from a metaphysical fair, and the energy is completely different, and it interacts with the energies of different people in those different locations, and it changes something in the quantum that I can perceive of it right now, but I don't have it fully defined. And even just moving things from my house to my new office, or from the center that I had opened to my new office, like the shift is completely different in a different geographic location. I think that there's something there too, just now being observed for me.
Do you know, Jen, I've got two couches in my living room. And since I can't sit in the kitchen, I have my coffee in the living room. But I can't sit on my evening couch because that's where I sit in the evening. I can't have my coffee there. It just doesn't work. And I thought this morning, I thought, now don't be a silly cow, you're going to check this out now. And the couch didn't want me there. And I'm like, okay. So I said, I have this is the morning coffee couch.
Couches.
Sorry?
You have 3 couches.
Yeah, no, the third one doesn't even come in. That's not, yeah. So it's those two. And it's really fun because, it's like, I mean, everything communicates with us, right? Do you find that sometimes, you know, when I get on a bus and somebody gets up and I'm already uncomfortable and I want to sit down, you know, and somebody gets up and something says, no, you're not sitting down there.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, I won't. Because it's, I don't know. And I'm like, "Ah, come on, I can clear that, you know, whatever that is." And sometimes, you know, most of the times I clear it, have a little yawn or something, as we do, right? As soon as you walk into a shop. And sometimes it says, no, do not do it. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
it's, it's fun.
Well, I think like having that energy field awareness, right? And listening to your body, listening to the things around you gives you the greater experience, right? When you do listen, you listen to that sense of intuition. Oh no, don't go there, go this way today, right? Then it opens you up to an experience that you gives you like a magical feeling.
I stayed in a hotel in Alabama a couple years ago, and like this hotel had so many oogie boogies. Like it was really vibing the red rum feel, right? Like you felt like you had walked into The Shining. And like I had one thing that was hovering over me walking through the hallway trying to scare me. And I turned around, looked at it, and I was like, absolutely not. I was so tired. I was having a long day. And I laughed at myself because, you know, I was on the security cameras. But
Yeah.
anyway, I got to my room and I went to clear my room and they were like, no, this is our space, not yours. And it made me do a second thought because I thought, you know, you're right. This is your space. I don't live here. Y'all do. But this is my space until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So y'all need to get the hell out until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and then you can have it back. But for now, this is my space. And I expanded my bubble to the confines of my room. And then if they wanted to go do something else within that building, that was their right. And I wasn't going to impede in it. But that hotel left an impression on me because as I clear hotel rooms now, like I set a time limit on it too, because if there are ghosties that live in that place and they don't bother anybody else except for me, I don't have to clear them out. I just have to let them like get out of my space for the next 24 hours and then you can have it back when I'm gone.
I think this is what we said early on. It's like you taking charge of as the avatar.
Yeah.
Of your environment, of your beingness, of how you feel, and all of that. And then, you know, sometimes there's a going with the flow, but even taking charge is actually flowing with the energy. What is required right here, right now. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's so much integration going on right now. Think about your story of all of the ghosties. Like when I, go in and do energy clearings, I open up a portal and I say, okay, for everyone's greatest good to the most appropriate vibrational frequency. And the people, the beings who are earthbound there who want to leave, they can go reintegrate with their avatar soul now. And the ones that want to stay can stay, right? The ones that are supposed to stay and become ancestors on the land will stay.
This is where remember we used to say, oh, this is a crystal or something. It's your permission slip. And you know what? We are becoming now the permission slip. We are that permission slip to ourselves, to our shards, to our versions, and to everyone else who comes in contact with us, right? Mary, tell us a little bit about your busy weeks because you've just started a new exploration. Not new, but a new sort of setting, right?
I did. But the busy 2 weeks really were to do with having an awful lot of visitors come to stay. And I had 3 dogs, 2 babies, and a whole pile of adults. And one of the babies was crawling, so she was constantly on the floor with the dogs, and I was afraid somebody was going to stand on her. Um, but she was absolutely gorgeous, and it was lovely energy, but it was absolutely flying all around the place. And I was just flat out, really, I suppose, kind of I felt like I was standing in the middle of it, and I was dealing with all this stuff that was going on. It wasn't anything, it wasn't negative stuff at all, but it was just um kind of a bit frantic. The energy was a little bit frantic. It was flying around me everywhere, you know, and everyone's energy was all over the place. And there was something about just without me trying to do anything about it or without me being aware of it, there was something about me just grounding that and balancing it. And it reminded me a little bit, Martina, about the day that I traveled to look after my two grandchildren. And you were doing this lovely meditation on Earth Nouveau. And I was thinking, oh, I can't join this now because I have to feed them and I have to make their dinner and I won't be able to do the meditation. And then I thought, you know, I'll just put in my earphone and I listen to it anyway, and I'll feed them and I'll get them because they had to go to football. So I thought I'll feed them and I'll get them to football. But look, I'll just have this going on in the background. And it was a meditation, you know, that won't ever forget. Because the funny thing about all of that was I was never more present. So I think I create sometimes, or I thrive on this kind of, you know, busy energy, everything going this way and that way and the other way, and me dealing with it and looking like I haven't a minute and I couldn't possibly be doing anything else at that particular time. And yet that's when I'm kind of doing the most. So there was that sort of energy around. I didn't even, wasn't even aware of the Earth Nouveau. I'm sorry, girls. I just never got to it because it was constant and it was, you know, at night time I used to just switch off and the dreams were just as busy as the daytime. But they were okay. But it used to take me an hour in the morning. I kind of realized if I hadn't, I had to give myself the time because there was absolutely no way my body would have it any other way. So, come what may, I had to give myself the time in the morning and I had to allow myself to enter back into the world and to the world of daylight at my body's pace. It wasn't my pace. I wasn't directing or dictating anything. And everybody else just had to wait because I had to wait. And I have a little spot too, a two-seater. I'm actually on it now. And it's where I go to have my breakfast. And I don't eat in the kitchen either. I love to sit down in a comfortable chair and I love to look out the window. And I'm minding a dog at the moment. And the dog knows the routine. So the dog is always up and sitting here on the back of this before I get out, and she waits for me to arrive with my cereal and my tea. But I just have to sit there and I wait there, and it's just a lovely time, actually. It is a lovely time. And, you know, the idea that it's a time now where I'm meditating or having great deep thoughts or insights, no, it's not like that at all. It's like a time where I'm switched off. It's like a time where if you looked at me, you'd say, "Ah, there's nothing happening. You know, she's just out of it. She's just kind of in dreamland somewhere." But actually, there's always something happening. And that was a lovely time in the morning that I used to have just to wake up. And I needed to do that because the nights were as busy as the days. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to stick this acceleration? Because there's just no way I can keep up with it. My body, would struggle. Um, but it was good. I felt good. I felt very grounded. I felt very present. I felt very expanded. Um, there was something that came to me there earlier when you were talking, Martine or Tanya, about the full feeling. I forget now what it was, but I remember thinking, oh, I wonder, is that the full feeling that I was having? And also when you were talking about community, there was something that came to me about, what I experienced over the Easter 2 weeks and also lately. And it's that I'm beginning to see, and you think what I'm going to say is not profound. It's very normal, as we're using the word normal, but it's like seeing the normal in a new light. And was it ever normal? What's normal? Like, it's something that's happening on a daily basis, and we say, well, you normally sit there and you normally do this. But actually, when you look at it under a different light, I'm not that sure it's that normal. And I think that it's really interesting to look beyond what looks normal, because I was thinking about community, and I was experiencing like a continuous thread throughout the community, throughout this community, throughout the community of my family, throughout the bigger community that has always been there. And that I would have sometimes felt was in opposition to me. I would have felt I was in opposition to it. We weren't just somehow maybe merging, or the merging isn't the word. I don't know, maybe acceptance, I think, might be the word. And I think that when that kind of acceptance came, it was almost like it came and it covered everything. It was like, oh my God, everything, it's just like there's no more struggle. There's no more I'm part of it and I'm not part of it. And it's all okay. And it was always all okay. And I think that that's again, I used the word a kind of earlier about feeling relieved of carrying. There was a kind of a struggle, I think, that I carried, and maybe others too, I don't know. But it's, maybe, accepting it, but trying to fix it at the same time sometimes, or trying to change it, or trying to blend with it, or whatever it was. I don't need to fix now or to blend or do anything like that. And there's that kind of acceptance, it's a new level of acceptance for me. And it's freeing, I think. It's freeing. That's the word. Yeah. So I suppose there has been a lot going on in my normal. And that, is that's somehow worth looking at from time to time. I haven't a clue what the dreams were. I don't know. I know in some of them I used to think, oh God, I better remember this one. Oh God, this is, and then I'd wake up in the morning, couldn't remember any of them. But that was okay too, because I really had too much going on to remember it, and I had enough anyway in my daylight hours to navigate all of that.
And how beautiful. I mean, girls, how has her energy changed?
Oh, wow. Has it?
Well, I can totally perceive a change.
Wow.
Like 20 years of your energetic. Don't you
That's the
find that?
Botox.
Find that too, or is it just me thinking that? It's like there's so much lightness in that. From what you
Mm,
just said, beyond from an energetic perspective.
yeah,
And if you want to philosophize about it, you've just beautifully explained the oneness.
yeah,
Coming into oneness.
yeah.
The oneness, the dissolving of the veil of perception,
Mm,
the last
mm,
levels of conditioning of,
mm.
it's supposed to be this, or it's supposed to be that. It just fucking is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm. So that has been my 2 weeks. Yes, I've started a new job, which is uh, I don't know the word to use to describe it really. I'm not settled in it. I'm still finding my way. But I'm also realizing, I think now, and I think that, I've always known this and I have been told this and all the rest of it over my lifetime, but it has taken until now for me to actually fully accept who I am, and to accept, no, this is not you. You're walking in there, you're picking up an absolute ton of energy and issues and problems, and that's what's happening. And it affects me physically, you know, because I can feel it physically. And then I start thinking, what's wrong with me? That, you know, that's the old thing, you know, that there's something wrong with me. What is wrong with me? But it's again, it's very freeing to be able to just stop for a second and realize, no, you're just picking this up. It's not you. So that's all I can say about it. I don't know how that will work itself out. I've noticed that with a few things that has happened, that there's a difference in my energy, and I don't beat myself up about it anymore. I used to, where, you know, there was one or two incidences where somebody had raised issues about a couple of things, and where I then brought them back up and said, look, you know, you raised questions about so and so and such a thing, and we need to talk about that. And the person has said, and it has happened several times, no, I didn't raise that, you did. And, you know, normally I would say, why didn't you answer that? Why didn't you clarify that? Why didn't you say, no, you did? But actually, I just looked and I thought, I don't need to say anything because I know, and that's all that matters.
Mm.
So it's cutting out an awful lot of work that I used to do. That was so unnecessary, to be honest, you know, making my load much heavier. So it's just cutting all that out. So I only need to speak now when I absolutely have to. They can say that if they want, doesn't matter.
I've gotten that also, Mary, and I think that, you know, getting rid of that voice in my head that why didn't you do this, or you screwed up this, or then that sinking feeling of having made a mistake. And so, like, even when that comes up now, like, everybody makes mistakes. We just fix it, right? Well, if that isn't going to work, then this will, and come up with something else. And I don't have to offer an opinion that wasn't asked.
Yeah.
So, like, not having to feel that that push to justify yourself. And, you know, I changed jobs in September, and so everybody, you know, asks me how the new job is going. And I'll be honest with you, like, my company, watching things just in the last 6 months, like, it's a hot mess. And, like, there's a lot of things that have just been a total shit show. But when I step back from it, it's like that everywhere. And isn't that what's supposed to be happening with everything, like, collapsing on itself? And so I have to sit back and laugh and be like, you know, I just got to ride it out. Like, I mean, I'm where I'm supposed to be. So when I have that voice, like, what am I doing here? I just step back and look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and make peace with it and go on with whatever tasks need to be done that day without any sense of worry. I don't have any sense of worry anymore.
Yeah. That sounds great,
Just
Jen. Do you feel the benefits of that? You know, can you feel that the benefit of that in your energy?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that creates so much space for me to be able to put my energy into creating art and cleaning up my house and getting my treatment room set up and things like that, because I don't hold so much space for worrying about things that I really can't control at work.
That is true.
yesterday I had picking up on the worry. So I checked after 3 weeks. I checked my office emails, you know, just to see what is going on. I cleared a few things, and then I saw there was a message from my superior asking if we should say if we would have received this and such invitation or not. And I hadn't received it. So I replied to him. I said, look, I haven't received it, but then I'm also not supposed to receive it, you know, or I'm not, and anyways, I'm not allowed to come, you know, that's what I said. And he called me yesterday. And he's like, how are you actually? We talked a little bit. And then I said, you know, that I've been, you know, feeling like I cannot move and that I need to take it slow. And he's just like, you know what? I do want to take it slow as well. And I'm like, you know, 20 years in that company, you know, they didn't, I mean, there has been a shift happening. It's just amazing, honestly, you know, 20 years, okay, for 10, 15 years, everybody is just, we did over hours and what have you not, because it's just our job, you know, we love doing it. And anyways, if you're in the field, you know, it's a 24/7 job anyways. So, and I'm like, I have to, you know, the discussion was really so beautiful in the sense I asked him about his wife who was also sick, his father was sick, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, we took this 10 minutes of talking to each other that I really sensed that he could for 10 minutes just, you know, slow down, breathe, and just don't bother about, you know, what is on the desk and what, you know, the 450 emails that were coming up at that moment for him anyways. And it was just beautiful. And it also, in a sense, I let go inside of a worry. I'm not worried that I don't have a job at all. I have a job, you know, so that's not the worry. But I'm like, oh my God, if even, you know, one of my superiors is like, I would like to take it slow as well, you know, that is wonderful, because that is exactly what we also need also in the workplace. Why are we just beating ourselves up? I always said to my team, I said, as long as nobody is, you know, dying, why do we need to move fast? For what reason? You know, let's just move at the pace that we need to move, and then, you know, take a little bit out of it. Sure, there are always moments where there is stress. That's normal, you know, the end of the month, you know, the closing of the accounts and what have you not. But even that you can take it with a breath, right? Because you know you have to do it. Auditors will always come, so it's always good to leave some trade for them to find. So otherwise, you know, they get pissed off and then they come up with new ideas, which is just nonsense. So let them just find something. But it gives me also the satisfaction now, the worry that if I'm going back to work, I can actually also take it slow without, you know, immediately going from 0 to 120 or 150, like it would have been, you know. When I had my car accident, I was only sick for 4 days, and then I went back to work. And now I'm paying the price. I mean, not, but I'm still paying the price of the hip that has not really healed, you know, at that moment where it should be healing. So it's just, I'm like, okay, we're getting there. Somebody also needs to take a breather. So that's good.
So it's almost like, you know, when we make changes within ourselves, we step back into service, and then everything else around us reflects the changes that we have made. That's going back to Mary, you know, illustrating the oneness, you know, it's like, you know, probably Mary, you know, you'll be less and less and less and less being bombarded by any narcissistic sort of, you know, attacks, not because you've ever been a narcissist, but you've always pushed against that. And now you're no longer pushing against it. You take the wind out.
It's just sliding by.
Yes. And this is, I've been thinking, you know, this is again a new way of getting into service, because in the beginning it was all about, okay, I'm a therapist, I'm this, I'm that. I asked the question, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I can help you with. And now service looks different. It doesn't look like the old normal, but as you said, Mary, maybe the old normal was never the norm anyway. Maybe now the new normal is actually what's supposed to be. Well, we know that, right? Because we have never lived in a normal world.
I use that term normal very loosely.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah. And we normalized, I suppose, things. And you know, it's interesting when you were saying that there, Martina, the feeling that I have had on and off, the different feelings, it's like that actually what I've done is I've gone back to the way I was when I was much younger. But it was, I allowed myself to condition that out of myself in order to fit in and to fit into this box and that box and, you know, all the rest of it. But it's going back to that because that wasn't okay then. But it's actually okay for me now. And that's the difference. It's okay for me now not to fit in. And I know I would have said, you know, in different ways over the years, I would have said this. but I didn't fully embody that. And I only know the difference because I'm fully embodying it now. But I didn't know that I wasn't fully embodying it until I fully embodied it.
But you see, this is the thing. You've always been ahead of your time. Always,
Martina.
you've always been ahead of your time, because that kind of expansion was more difficult to maintain in the old energy.
That's true. Yes, that is so true. Yes, and I couldn't do it. So
That's
and it really for survival, I did the other because it got me through. Yeah, that is so true, and I'm sure it's true for lots of ye as well.
Oh, absolutely. This
Mm.
energy feels much more congruent,
Yes.
but
Mm.
it does need a bit of a reminding at times, because for how
Mm.
long how many lifetimes have we lived in that other energy that we considered positive, or we considered
Normal.
the right way around? And in reality,
Yeah.
it's actually that expanded sort of space that we're all gonna
Yeah.
thrive. And it's like, you're no longer in the box. Now you can expand your wing,
Mm.
you know?
Yes.
The
And when you were saying about the, battling the narcissism, I would have had a lot of that or experienced a lot of that in my environment. When you said that, I immediately I felt, what I had actually was a fear of it. I had a fear it could hurt me.
of
And I
course.
no longer have that fear because I now know that nothing can hurt me as long as I know who I am.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't hurt anymore. They can, it can happen. It's just, I don't know how long I'll hold this for, but it's a great space. I mean, at the
Yeah,
moment, it's a great
I
space.
love her energy. It's like, the narcissist cannot survive if the victim grows up.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And
Yeah.
you totally ditched any kind of victim. Look at this chick having a laugh with all of this is joy.
I'm laughing. I'm really laughing at myself because
Yeah,
I can see how afraid I was of that and how afraid I was of being hurt by that, and the worry of how I was going to manage that and control it and do damage limitation and confront it. Oh my God! But I never did any of it, luckily, because I obviously had some spark of wisdom working at that time. But it's no longer there now. That's no longer there because I no longer fear that because I know that they can't. And that's an amazing feeling, to be honest. It really is.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Expect lots of don't expect the unexpected, obviously, don't expect anything, but that will create huge waves and ripples out in your environment with the people.
Mm.
And not all
Well,
of them will be positive, because some
yeah.
people will no longer be able to match that energy that you are now stepping into, and they will just fall away.
Yeah, I think that they'll miss the fear that, once they miss the fear, the battle is lost or won or whatever you want to say.
Oh,
I think that they'll probably miss that.
they will miss no longer be able to control you. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Because the
And
one
yeah, and it was all kind of psychically done, really, because if you asked me to tell you something about this, I couldn't. I can't give you physical examples, really, but
no,
it was, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
so amazing. Do you know this conversation I had today with one of the security people? I was telling him a little bit the story of me starting painting, and I actually use the word, dormant DNA is starting to wake up. And he immediately came in and he said, "Oh, yeah, that reminds me." He said he just saw a documentary or something about a transplant, somebody having a heart transplant, and obviously starting to, I think it was painting anyway, started painting after he had the heart transplant. And then obviously followed up, and whoever the heart came from was from an artist. And I thought, wow, that's such a cool example. And I said, you know what? The great thing is you no longer need a heart transplant or any kind of transplant for that, because the DNA is switching on now. And he was like,
yeah,
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, such a good conversation,
yeah.
So yeah, and he even said, "It's oh, I feel inspired now. I think I'm going to start painting." I said, "Well, you better do. Once the gallery is open, you come and show me what you've done." You know what I mean? So really
Lovely.
cool, really cool. And that is psychic surgery. You've done psychic surgery, but and this is what they all say. It's like you don't have to actually do the work anymore because, well, pinch of salt with that. Of course, we always have to do the work kind of thing. But the energies that are coming in now are throwing it all out, all those
Yes.
little blockages and stuff like that. But then again, that is for us to acknowledge who have done the work very, very consciously with awareness that we were the ones who knew what was coming.
Like the pioneer. Yeah.
The pioneers, and we are now holding space for those who haven't done the work that get just like woo in the washing machine because of the energy, right? It's like my dad, for instance. I mean, he's now in hospital. This morning he got to hospital. It was very clear last week when I was there that something was very wrong. Could I do anything? Yeah, I said a few things. Nothing you could do. When people don't want to hear it, they have to go through their own experience. So all I could do was hold space and speak to my mum about it, you know? So we'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, interesting. Yeah. Oh, it's
How are you in that holding space, Martina, for him? Are you okay in it?
yeah. I was
Okay.
last year when I was there, I was angry with him.
I know, yeah.
I was angry. I said that, I think I was angry with him because I thought that is so not necessary. But that word, that expression in itself is so not very spiritual, isn't it? Or true, because it is whatever the soul needs to go through, right? But this time around, I was just holding space.
Yeah.
I had a few words. Yeah, you know, I even did a bit of bowing on him, and after that, he couldn't walk for 3 days.
Wow.
And I literally made 4 moves. So I want to say maybe, you know, it accelerated the process a little bit
Yes.
by knocking
Yeah.
him out for that long, you know, to see. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's no difference to me. You know what I not did. The good thing now is that something is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, gosh, exciting times.
It's hard to have those expectations of the people who are, family members or close in our lives when we can see, right, when we're in this expansive state, we can see the patterns,
Yeah.
right? We can see, how that person is running themselves into the ground. And, that is the beauty of grace and holding space and just that knowingness that you don't have to fix it. You don't have to change it, right? You can give suggestions if they're asking for help, but if they're not open for that, then there's really nothing you can do except just love them.
I would say for me personally, this has been not just with him, but that kind of space holding and that kind of backing out has been one of the most difficult teachings for me, to be in allowance of those choices where you can just see it just takes a little bit of drink a couple of glasses of water, maybe do eat something, and things like that. And this is where I always used to be, come on, you're so close, you're so
I
close.
know.
That was always, but now it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
I find that hard too. I find it very hard to hold space for loved ones that I see hurting themselves and that I care about. And I can do what you're saying, Tanya. I can do that today, but I can take it all back tomorrow. And I
Yeah,
can, get
Mhm.
really angry and just get so frustrated and all the rest of it, and then go back into the other space again. But it has been an interesting journey because that has always been in my life in one way or
yes,
another since I was a child. So
Mhm.
yes.
It was just in the end, I suppose, just letting go. And, maybe there was some level of letting go. Sorry, Martina, you were going to say
No,
something.
no. You carry on.
No,
No,
that's all. That's all. I finished.
Well,
yeah.
I think too, what you were talking about earlier, right, where we touched on a little bit the power outages and how that affected the kids that you were working with.
Yeah.
How everyone was really wired, they weren't sleeping, and made them really exhausted. And that
Mhm.
energy that's happening in the global narrative collective, this deconstruction and this wheat separating from chaff energy has been really, really intense for people who are really in it, right? Who are really in their I don't know, running on the hamster wheel or connected to the energy of that duality and changing and deconstructing. And I feel like what we're talking about now, just being able to sort of hold our own energy, be in our own energetic space, whether we're contractive or expansive, and holding the space for others to process and go through what they need to, then then we're not taking that energy. We're just almost like holding a container for the person processing to do the processing. Whether they're going to do it or not, that's not
Yeah.
up to us, right? We can
Yeah.
just be, for me, I see almost just like holding that space of like love and peace and unity and groundedness, that everything just seems to sort of like sort itself out within that container. Or like Martina was saying, or leaves.
Yeah. That's true.
Do you know what? I actually, as we're talking about this, for me, we can throw in here unconditional and activated heart work. Because all my life I've been looking, what is unconditional love? What is love? What is, open heart business and all that, and I've come in with an open heart, and I'm sure all of you did too. And it was never about opening my heart, but it was about understanding the fabric of existence, being love. And, only when you step back and be in total allowance of other people's and your own choices, then I'm happy to start talking about unconditional love. Other than that, let's not even go there.
Mhm.
Yeah, finding the way to it, right?
Finding a
Yeah.
way
I
to
mean,
that openness.
yeah, exactly. We know that we have the heart, but it was just I just heard Matthias Stefano today talking about Elon Musk, actually. Funnily, it was one of these shorts. And he was like, he's in his mind. He has to go into the heart. And that is exactly it. We have been trained, culturally, it has been put into us that we need to have the mind, the mind, the mind, the mind, the mind. And the heart is just, maybe be, stroke your pet animal and that's about it, and be kind to your grandma. That was the heart, right? And we have just been trained on the mind, and now it's like we finding the way back to the heart with all the mind in it, but in a different way. There is a different channel that is opening.
And what if, as far as I'm concerned, because that has always been my contemplation, what is it? I'm too much in my mind and all that. And I can safely say for myself now, my way to the heart was through the mind.
Yes.
I
It
agree.
literally was through the mind, because I did need to understand
Right.
things in order to sit back now and say, I can now start considering the idea of unconditional
Yes.
love. And I'm nowhere near mastery, but that is something I am really looking forward now. And it's not about opening the heart, but it's about, understand. And it would make a perfect sense as well from what we said earlier on. Solar plexus moving into the heart, right? Emotional balance, and then mind moving into the heart as well. throat moving into the heart. So, you know, different level of looking at the chakra system. You know, because the chakra system used to be, I don't think it was always like that, but it was definitely bastardized to
Yes.
fit the limiting.
It's been too simplified, you know, because
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not
and
these,
then locked in place.
yes, exactly. It's not these 7 circles with the 7 colors. I mean, it's all over the place in your body, and your throat. It's not, the throat is not here. The throat is probably this, everything around it, you know, and the here and the there. So feeling everything.
I mean, that's the thing with the singularity, right? And you know, the work that I'm still doing with Azra is really looking at the 4 chambers of the heart, you know, and every chamber is associated with a different sort of energy. So there's one chamber that is associated with a singularity, where we can no longer, at this level of awareness, we can no longer go into, oh, this chakra, this chakra, this chakra, because that's separation. Yeah, it's no longer left or right. It's no longer up or down. It just is. There's no past, there's no future, there's no it just is the oneness that you were, you know, considering early on. And this is the thing. So that singularity, which then is the other chamber, the omnivision, that opens us up 365 and God knows whatever else, right? To into every single dimension, right? And then, of course, we have the coherence, which we always talked about, the third chamber that, you know, really combines the mind, the heart, and the gut, because that's coming together, which is changing the dreaming body at the same time. Because, you know, I mean, it's like for me, I used to be so, oh God, I'm not dreaming, I'm not dreaming, I'm not dreaming. Now it's like, why do I need to dream? Why do I need to remember my dream? Because what is the dream? Is this the dream or that the dream? Does it really matter? It's no longer significant for me. Maybe I'm using an excuse because I don't necessarily dream anything super, you know, funky or anything. Because I'm now having this sort of perception, like I have to make this physical thing super funky, you know? So what about focusing so much on making the dream significant, you know? And just to finish off the 4th chamber, which is obviously the plasma, the fire, plasma. Yeah.
So a few things. Now there's a third one after what you just said. Taking a couple steps back when you were talking about that unconditional love. I had such an easy time with unconditional love for others, but it's just been within the last couple of months that I found unconditional love for myself. And I think that was a really integral part for me being able to hold my sovereignty in a way that I couldn't before. So I think that was my struggle, was that unconditional love for myself that helped me discard all the judgment that I had of myself. And then with the chakras, one of the things that I did like about Marconics is, which is one of the modalities that I've trained for, they have what they call like a recalibration. There's lots of modalities that will talk about different recalibrations or different alignments, but they have a graphic that when you post this on Facebook, I'll add it as a comment. But you know, when we see the graphics that people share about the chakras, they're conical, right? So like they emanate out from the front, they emanate out from the back, but there's a constriction in our center, like at our spine. And they say that like there's a dampener that's put on our chakra so that we can't emanate at our full potential. And that made a lot of sense to me because I can see that in the shape. And so that recalibration pulls the dampener off and it returns the chakra to its spherical shape. And they may be where we kind of suggest that they are, but they're all different sizes and they're nested. And the heart chakra is the largest one that encompasses all of them. And that's the closest thing that I've been able to see in terms of like a graphic that made sense to me. And to me, like it doesn't have to just go, 3 feet in each direction from the body. For me, it goes as large as I want to put my energy field for that day, right?
Right.
but all of them really are within the heart chakra. And when I saw that, I was thinking back to you, Martina, about, let's play around with moving the chakras around. I don't think it has to be any one way. That's just an easy way to envision it so that we can understand it. And with the plasma, as I've been going and doing my meditation work, the other day I did 9 rounds of Jinn the other night, which is one of the Kuji-in mantras. And I was in wherever we're going with Earth, in that new frequency of Earth and what that looks like. And as I was observing it, everything was nothing and nothing was everything. And something could take any form it wanted to, but it shape-shifted so easily because there was no limiting assignment or definition of anything. And as I just kind of sat back and watched it move and take shape, like everything was plasma. And so while it has DNA, it has no required assignments. So all of that plasma can just be anything that it was. And as I brought that back with me into this moment of now that I'm in, it gave me such a easy visual of how I can pull that plasma into now and still use that plasma because it's here and available to us now if we just allow it.
Absolutely.
And that comes back to having non-attachment to anything and letting whatever we build take whatever shape it's going to be. All we have to do is put forth the intention of how it feels when it's taken shape for what we want in that reality.
Absolutely. I mean, that's that continuous perpetual out creation we keep talking about by letting go of the definitions. Absolutely. And the infinite possibilities, possibilities out there. It's infinite, it's truly, truly infinite. And this is obviously where free will comes in.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you're saying is beautifully demonstrating that we are free will being. And it's not the doing, it's the imaginative process that you've just explained, that, imagination that goes so far beyond thinking. Because when you do that Kuji-in mantra work, the thinking gets cut out. You cut out the thinking and you open space for the imagination, for just images, as you explained, to just pop in. And those images are not less real than this pen or my phone or anything that you're literally seeing, because you're letting go of the veil. Because every thought that you have is also supported by an image.
Yeah.
Those are old images, right? And this is where we're going into a new world, which is also not new, but at the end of the day, it's everything that we've ever dreamt of, ever thought that we want, is no longer new. That's old already. And this is where the expectation and the projection and the destroy and uncreate everything on a daily basis and just see what shows up. This is where the synchronicities come in, where you just say yes or no, like we do all the time, and we have no idea what the outcome is. There is no outcome. It's a bit like when we create, when we paint, right? No idea what through. I certainly don't. Yeah.
On that outcome,
On that note,
thank you.
Nice to see you, darling. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. Thank you. I am. Thank you.
All right. Take care. See you soon.
Just thinking about what you were saying about being in the mind, right? Being stuck in the mind and having to get into the heart. I mean, that is the journey of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, right? Opening up the heart. And I mean, one of the things I find with working with so many people is that when someone is stuck in the head, right? Spinning out, overthinking, always the lower chakras are closed down.
Mm.
So that earth star a foot below the feet, the root chakra, at least those two. And because that energy then doesn't have anywhere to go, right? It just bounces back up into the person's energy body and spins and spins and spins. It's like an overthinking. Oh, that thing that I'm going to chew on again and again and again and again, that conversation or that problem or, this work issue or this interaction, gets stuck in the energy body, in that mind. I think by design, talking about the dampeners on the chakras, to me, they look like locks, almost like combination locks. And when those locks are removed, then you get this expansiveness in the energy field and the body that allows for that collaboration with Earth Mother, with Terra, with Gaia, all of those multidimensional parts of this beautiful planet that we're sharing space with. We get to collaborate with her in a way that, by design, this Pisces age, keeping us thinking, stuck in the head and overthinking, right? Stuck in that dualistic way of thinking and perceiving, right? That is just like one thing or the other, one thing or the other, instead of this expansive energy where you can be open to that space, where you can bring that energy plasma in from the new Earth timelines and ground it here and now to create your bubble of reality.
Yeah, I think as long as we, and that has been my experience, certainly, because that idea of grounding my roots into the earth was a lovely idea, but it just never worked.
Agreed.
Because the thoughts that were, the images of the thoughts were just overwhelming up here, that wouldn't allow any of that to happen. And as I started to just let go, and you see, the thing is, I didn't even let go of the thoughts, they just disappeared. As I started redefining, various words, various concepts, as we've been doing over the last 5 years, and self-mastery work, that kind of thing, and obviously the healing, whichever way or form, they just started dissolving. Because frankly, they were never stuck in my head anyway. It's not that they are stuck in your mind. Your mind is not in your body anyhow. The mind is the conscious mind up there, and we're just tapping into it because of the frequency that we're running. And as soon as we change the frequency, we're no longer tapping into certain frequency puddles. We started to tap into different kind of, which changes our perception. And all of a sudden, there's no need to ground anymore because you're becoming expanded. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, expansion is grounding. Yeah. And that's when it gets exciting, because now you can appreciate your multidimensionality. Because if you just want to ground to the earth, you go into separation again. Because again, you can't just ground this body into the earth, because your body is multidimensionally. So you have to ground into all the different dimensions, into all those different frequencies. So you have to stay expanded in order to really ground in this energy. Everything else is separation again. So it's like everything is upside down. Everything is the opposite of what we've ever learned. So yeah, it's great.
By design. By design.
By design, yeah, by design, and by a couple of mishaps that happened, throughout the paradox, we got ourselves into. But, and this is the main thing, that by design, as you say, Tanya, is we coming out as masters. That's what the human species is all about, because we've mastered all that shit, right?
Transcending the limitations or the perceived limitations.
One of the things that I perceived when I was witnessing New Earth, or whatever we want to call that, was we really haven't experienced free will exactly, because there's so much programming and limitations, and like we still have something that disrupts true free will. And that's what that plasma is the expression of real free will, because without the limiting beliefs that are spoken into it, we take any shape or form that we want to.
And this,
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm done.
And this is a perfect topic for next week.
Yeah.
Well, and how do we start exercising that free will from a place of non-expectation? We have to link it to imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, we've explored imagination before, but maybe it's time to explore imagination again, you know? And really, because imagination's got a bad rap too, right? Oh, you're just imagining shit, right? It's a lot of that, you know. When I became a hypnotherapist, I had, in order to be hypnotized myself, I wouldn't allow it, you know, I wouldn't allow it. And then also when I started allowing myself to say things, I continuously thought, I'm just making shit up. I can't say that. I'm just making shit up. Until whoever the trainer was, he said, yeah, you're supposed to make shit up. And I'm like, really? Because I'm very good at that. I just didn't know. I didn't trust that was the way to do it. Imagination is making shit up. Or if you don't like the S word, then making things up. Because who makes it up? Right? Where does it come from? This is why I love synchronicities. Because, you know, where does that come from? Well, it's us making stuff up in co-creation, because we are in relationship with everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is exciting. And the more we expand our boundaries sovereignly, the more of that imagination is going to come and filter through. That's, as you say, Jen, this is when it gets interesting. What is free will in this abnormal world that is actually has always been the normal one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, so exciting.
The new normal.
So exciting.
All right. Ooh, well, good luck. Good luck opening.
So yes, wish me luck. Oh, don't wish me luck.
No, you already have it. It's already
No,
there.
I don't have it because it is
No.
what it is anyway, right? We trust the process, whatever it is. The idea is for Saturday, which would mean I cannot do the 5 o'clock next Wednesday. So just put it out there. We can either change to the Tuesday, or we're changing to a 6 o'clock. I should be back at 6 o'clock. But anyway, we can play with that. Yeah.
Tuesdays will be, well, the first and third Tuesday of the month will be hard for me because I have meetings that roll in past 12 o'clock my time.
Okay.
I can do 6 o'clock. I can do 1 o'clock on Wednesdays though. So, but y'all base it on whatever works for everybody else.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, a little later on Wednesday. I'd have to cut it short a little bit, but other than that, I'm.
Okay, well, let's contemplate that, and also whoever's listening and see how the others are doing along those lines. But it doesn't have to be with me. Somebody else, if Tanya, you want to run it, you run it, and I just pop in whenever I get home because I don't want to have the connection in the center.
We'll just be plasma with it. So you're opening Saturday, yeah?
That's a plan.
Okay. So in the etheric anyway, I'll be there.
Yes. Okay. And I
Awesome.
will send pictures and blah 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 whenever it comes up. So, but I will not. The guy said to me, "So, is there a press release? Are we still on time?" I said, "No, there's no press release. Just calm down. You know, there's also no champagne, not at this stage, at least." All right, girls. Thanks for being
Love
here.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye. Oh,
Bye.
here's the end button. All right. Bye.
Bye.